Hi everyone, my name is Isa Hastad. I'm one of the 2023 to 2024 Chief Residents, helping with this slideshow, which will be a brief primer to your month, or hopefully more than 1 month here with us at Valley. We'll have a little bit about the logistics, who to reach out to, where to go, what our call structure is like, as well as important contact information. I expect to see and hear the voices of a variety of us chiefs, as this is an ongoing PowerPoint that we continue to work on. You'll see the video of Vincent Chang, who was a chief when I was an intern, soon as well throughout this video. The people on this slide are very near and dear to us here at Valley. They are our program leadership, very always open and willing to hear feedback, to debrief whatever you might need from them. They are wonderful with. From the left, Dr. David Jacobson is the program director for categoricals and prelims. He's a teaching hospitalist. For the transitional years, your program director would be Dr. Shally Garg, who is another teaching hospitalist. With them are 3 associate program directors, Dr. Constance Lowe, who is a primary care continuity clinic teaching attending, Dr. David Lin, who is one of our APDs in gastroenterology, a great point person if you have questions about fellowship, and then Dr. Brian Sun, who is another one of our teaching hospitalists. On this slide, you'll see contact information for the 2023 to 2024 chiefs, which is myself on the right, and then Neeraj, who is my co-chief, on the left. If you need to get a hold of us, we are readily available by email for routine issues, and then if it's urgent, for example, sick call for the next day, our system is not pager-based. We will use secure chat. We also have a link tree, which has a lot of the FAQs, survival guide, and other details that you may need. I wish I could say we'll be able to help you with absolutely everything, but some things are in other departments outside of our control. So for your onboarding, the most pertinent folks are going to be Giovanna Bonilla. She's the GME administrator here at Valley. She will process your onboarding, getting you in the system and your badge. Her information is here if there are any issues. For actual login nuts and bolts, since you will start on Sundays, we also cannot help with the IT side just because it's not in our purview. We have the IT department's phone number here, and there's also, if you're here in person, a way to click through that from the desktop. Given our population, you will be using interpreter services a lot. A lot of your Stanford phone numbers and other phone numbers may not work, so here is our detail information as well as some direct lines.
The mission statement of Santa Clara Valley Medical Center is to provide high quality, compassionate, and accessible healthcare for all persons in Santa Clara County, regardless of their socioeconomic status and ability to pay. We are the safety net hospital of the Santa Clara County region. What that means for our house staff, for rotating residents like Stanford residents, is that this is where you'll get that experience and exposure of taking care of underserved, underprivileged county patient population. All the ancillary staff like case managers, social work, nursing staff, we're really on the same page where we're doing everything we can to provide excellent care while recognizing that there are going to be other social economic barriers, mental health barriers that prevent patients from getting that adequate care. It's going to be a different experience from when you're rotating at Stanford. It's going to be a different experience from when you're rotating at the VA. And we really hope that this is going to be a good experience for your growth as a clinician. So switching gears to a little bit about the logistics. So one of the first things is, where am I going to go on my first day? So the main highlights that I want to point out on our hospital map is so this cross street, Moore Park Avenue and Turner Drive is where you would turn in to park at the visitor parking. You do not need a parking pass, and all the residents, all the Stanford senior residents and interns that have rotated here this past academic year have been parking here without any issues. You don't need to worry about getting any parking tickets. It's free parking, so this is the safest place to go. Afterwards, you'll go across the street and kind of make your way across campus, and you'll see here it says hospital entrance. This is right outside building K, where there's the emergency department. So you'll actually walk in front of the emergency department into the K and B buildings, and that's where the hospital entrance is. Around the corner is the A building, which is the Sobrato building. That's where most of your patients will be. And also that's where all of the medicine team workrooms will be. Don't worry, I know this is all overwhelming and it's so hard to figure out virtually. We're going to send out these instructions again in the email prior to you starting your rotation here. So one of the rooms here in the Sobrato building on the first floor of the A building, in room 82A, is where we'll have your badges. And it's also where you will give sign out to the night flow interns and also receive sign out from them when you come into work in the morning. If you were to enter this into Google Maps, so I think the best success I've had is just searching for the visitor parking PS1 structure. Again, the cross streets are Moore Park Avenue and Turner Avenue. This is the visitor parking structure. And then you'll make your way across the campus, across Renova Drive, and you'll notice here on the bottom, very bottom, Valley Medical Center ED, that's where you'll enter, and you'll make your way to the Sobrato building. All right, so going into a little bit of the nuts and bolts about what medicine wards is like at Valley. So there are 8 total teaching teams that will consist of residents and interns. So 7 of those teams will have 2 interns and 1 senior resident. One of the teams will have 2 Valley residents. This is something we are doing this year for the 2022, starting the 2022 academic year, because we want to provide a hospice-like experience for our residents, where the senior residents will work directly with the teaching attendings to really get that hospitalist experience. Sometimes you'll have a medical student. We'll have medical students coming from Stanford, as well as Dartmouth, and a variety of other medical schools like Western University, Touro University, Cal North State University. And then sometimes you'll even have pharmacy residents joining your team. So the 8 teams are broken up into different colors. So their primary colors, red, yellow, green, and blue. Blue being the Valley two resident team. The secondary colors are orange, tan, pink, and gray. So we'll go into a little bit of details about what that means in terms of which team you're assigned and how to find that out. In terms of where these teams are located, this is a little diagram about where each color team is located. So as you'll see, A signifies the Sobrato building. All of the workrooms are in the Sobrato building. And then 1, 5, and 6 signify which floor it's on. So tan will be on first floor in the A building or Sobrato building, room 10. All right, so next I'll go over what it looks like on medicine wards and the call cycle. So we operate on a Q4 call cycle. What that means is if day 1 is call, the next day would be post-call. The day after that is short call. And then finally, it will be pre-call. Afterwards, this goes back to call, post-call, short call, pre-call. I'll go over kind of what it looks like each day of this call cycle, and what it looks like on a weekday and what it looks like on a weekend. I want to highlight that your senior residents will have a lot of experience this past year going through this call cycle, so they know how to handle this, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. So first off, new patients are only received on call days and on short call days. The short call day, there's a little bit of a caveat which we'll go over in the following slides. So one thing I want to emphasize is we have dedicated interns that are on night shift that will cross-cover wards patients. So you sign out to the night float interns, and then in the morning they will sign out to you. Their shift ends at 7 a.m. So sign out needs to happen before 7 a.m. Otherwise, the night flow interns will go over hours and break duty hours. Starting for call days, what it looks like from 7 a.m. To 7 p.m. On a weekday. 7 a.m., the overnight resident, senior resident who's doing admissions, will come by, and each team can get 2 admissions overnights on weekdays. This will be split amongst the interns. So each team will get a total of, can get up to 2 admissions overnight on weekdays. From 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., that's essentially your call day. So 5 new admissions can happen total, including the overnights per intern. So as a team, 10 new admissions can be received to that team. It would suck if all the admissions came at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or 6 p.m. And it just would be too compressed at the end of your workday. So we limit the number of admissions from 5 to 6 p.m. so that each intern is limited to only 1 admission between 5 to 6 p.m. And then at 7 p.m., you have the opportunity to sign out to the night flow intern. So this time from 6 to 7 p.m., it's really meant to tuck in the really sick patients that you got later on, or just in general, the sick patients that you got on call day. So moving on to what the weekend looks like. Again, the night flow intern needs to leave by 7 a.m. So sign out about what happened to your patients overnight needs to occur before that. So after 7 a.m., what it looks like is 7 a.m. A team may receive up to 6 admissions overnight on Saturdays and up to 3 admissions overnight on Sundays. And this will be distributed amongst the interns. Then from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., it's the exact same of how weekdays operate. Per intern, 5 new admissions total, which includes the overnights. As a whole team, that means 10 new admissions, including the overnights. From 5 to 6 p.m., there's a limit to only 1 admission between 5 to 6 p.m. per intern. And then at 7 p.m., sign out to the night float intern. All right. Next day in the call cycle is post-call. So this is what it usually looks like on a weekday. So again, sign out, the night flow intern needs to leave by 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. you should have already received sign out from the night flow intern. There are no new overnight patients or patients throughout the daytime on a post-call day. And then at 5 p.m., you can sign out to the night flow intern. For post-call days on weekends, again, night flow intern needs to leave by 7 a.m., so sign out needs to be completed before that. So by 7 a.m., you've already received sign out from the night flow intern. Again, you do not receive any new overnight admissions, no new admissions throughout the day. And then starting at noontime, the short call and pre-call teams can sign out to you. Afterwards, at 5 p.m., you would then sign out these patients, short call, pre-call teams, as well as your own patients to the night flow interns. All right, moving on, the next day would be short call on a weekday. Again, the night flow interns need to leave by 7 a.m., so make sure you get signed out before then. And then starting at 7 a.m., so short call is one of the days where you can get new admissions. The overnight senior resident who's admitting will come by to the team room, and each short call day, a team may receive up to 4 admissions overnight. That will be distributed amongst the interns. During the daytime, you do not get any other admissions. And then at 5 p.m., you have the opportunity to sign out to the night flow intern. So this is where the caveat is for short call on the weekends. So again, you receive sign out before 7 a.m. By 7 a.m., the night flow intern should leave the hospital and finish their shift. Instead of receiving admissions from the overnight admitting resident, on short call weekends, there are no admissions. You do not get any admissions. It acts like a pre-call day where you also don't get any admissions on the weekend, which we'll go over in the next slide. So this means that short call weekends can also potentially be a day off. And then at noontime, you have the opportunity to sign out to the post-call team if it's a weekend. All right, and finally, the last day is pre-call. So starting with what it looks like on a weekday. So this, I want to emphasize, could be a potential day off for interns or residents. So night flow intern needs to leave by 7 a.m. So before that, definitely make sure you get sign out. So 7 a.m. onwards, you've already received sign out from the night flow intern about what happened to your patients. And by 5 p.m., you have the opportunity to sign out to the night flow intern. And then what does it look like on the weekend? Again, this is a day off for interns, or potential day off for interns or residents. And then again, night flow intern needs to leave by 7 a.m. You receive sign out before then. So starting from 7 a.m. onwards, you've already received sign out about your patients and you're taking care of your patients. At noontime, you have the opportunity to sign out to the post-call team. All right, next we'll talk about which days off, which days in the call cycle you could potentially take as days off. So we kind of mentioned that already there are 2 days, pre-call days or short call days that fall on the weekend are potential days off. And they're potential days off because you don't get any overnight admissions and you also don't admit any patients throughout the day. And then something that we're trying to do, there's no guarantees, but we try our best to accommodate any requests. So these are things like, for example, events like weddings. If you have a wedding that you would like to go to, let the chiefs know by emailing them, vmcimchiefs@gmail. Again, we're trying our best to make these accommodations. There's no guarantees, but we could try to get the day of the wedding or the day of the event to fall on a pre-call day or a short call weekend. Otherwise, the chiefs will randomly pre-assign days off just to make sure that everyone has received 4 days off over a course of a 4-week rotation.
Some good news is our program was able to drop the maximum caps both per intern and per team. So currently on a call day, you can accept 5 total new patients per intern with a cap of 9 per each intern. That means each call day total cap would be 10 new per team, but the absolute team cap is 18. We also don't do bounce backs anymore, and for call day admissions, it used to be 1 patient per intern between 5 and 6 p.m. It is now 1 patient per team between 5 and 6 p.m. Hopefully you will feel well, but if you do get sick or if anything happens and you aren't able to work, the workflow would be that you inform both the Stanford chief residents and us here at Valley. To tell us, since this would be an urgent matter, it would be via secure chat. We should have an on-call chief listed on Amion, but if not, just add both of us to the chat. We'd rather have more information than less. The other step would be to secure chat your immediate team, senior and attending, so they're on the same page, and also start an email thread so that we can all coordinate together as efficiently as possible. Again, to reiterate, this is the slide for information of people who can actually get you onboarded. Once these steps are done, we take over, but you will need their information.
All right, in terms of your badge, we do our best to get all your badges ready, made, and have access to the emergency department, to your workrooms before you come here. Stanford interns and residents start their rotations at Valley on Saturdays. That is a day where our GME office is closed. We can return to work on Mondays. So we have a system where we place the badges in one of the mailbox in the Department of Medicine office. Again, these instructions will be sent out in the email that we send before you start your rotation, and we've included pictures on exactly how to get here. All right, in terms of didactics, there is definitely didactics to teach internal medicine highlights and high yield information for interns and residents. So every single day, Monday through Friday, from 12 to 1 p.m., we have noon report. This essentially is morning report. It's case-based discussions where the chief residents will present interesting cases and try to go over how to think about shortness of breath, how to think about pancytopenia, and really try to build up your foundation. This happens in our cafeteria conference room, and one of the highlights that all Stanford interns and residents will tell you from this year and previous years is that lunch is catered and the food is amazing. It's catered from a lot of the different restaurants that are in the area. So we'll have like Thai Fridays, or we'll have Vietnamese banh mi Tuesdays. We'll have a day where there's Indian food. So it's definitely one of the highlights. It's all catered. You don't have to use your meal card. So we think it really helps with wellness. The other didactics that are present is on Tuesdays from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. It's intern-focused academic half days. So this is protected didactic time for interns, and the expectation is that senior residents or attendings, if your senior resident is off, will cover your secure chats or the pages, which is a secure chat, to address any clinical issues. The chief residents will also run this, and again, it'll go through different skills. For example, how to run a rapid response, or what is a good discharge summary? How do you build up those skills? And then also coupled with case-based teaching on bread and butter cases in medicine. The same thing will happen for residents, but their teaching is on Thursdays. So the pagers and secure chats will either be forwarded to interns. You guys will be taking care of your patients, or if the interns are off, then they'll be forwarded to attendings.
We've been going over a huge amount of information, so if you ever need to know where any of this is, screenshot this page or go to our link tree. You will be able to find everything you need there.
All right, so this is Am I On? Essentially, it lists kind of which days you're working, which days you're not, which team you'll be on, etc. Yeah. So the website is www.amion.com. The password is same thing as the blog's password, SCVH. So the way to find the page that would be most helpful to you is the first thing that you'll see is this area that says who's on, and then there will be a drop-down menu. Search for the medicine residence page. This will list out all the color teams, and then you'll find your name listed next to the color team that you're assigned to. So for example, one of the previous Stanford interns, Jared Wallace, is assigned to Tan B, and on June 19th, 2021, they were on call. Senior resident is Ji Hong Song, and attending is Michelle Wilson. Co-intern is Pooja. And then you can click on your name here to find out, what are the days that I'm on call, and are there any days that I'm off that were pre-assigned. So essentially, it will list out Tan B for the days that you're working, and then it will not list out Tan B for the days that you're off. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask your senior resident. Don't hesitate to ask the chiefs. All right, and then kind of touching upon, how do we actually communicate with the staff members, the ancillary staff, whether it's nursing staff or case managers or social workers, how do we call a consult? So we're moving away from physical pagers, and everything is through Epic. And we're using the secure chat function. This is HIPAA protected chatting function. So when you open up your Epic page, you'll see this icon, this messaging icon, that will be for secure chat. You can start a new chat using this icon right here, and it'll show up here. And this is where you will attach the patient that you are talking about, and also type out who you want to chat with. For example, Andrew from GI, you wanted to do a consult about a new GI bleed. In terms of forwarding the pager on your didactic days, again, you will go onto the secure chat icon, and then you will use the gear icon for settings. You will select auto forward messages, picking which person to forward them to and for how long. And then at the bottom, you'll hit accept. Similarly to sending a secure chat, the same thing. There's this very similar process in finding who do you consult. So let's say, for example, we're trying to consult neurology for a patient we're worried about is having strokes, or there's a stroke code, or someone's having seizures. So instead of the secure this messaging icon, it should be the magnifying icon, which will be on-call finder. Sorry, this arrow is in the wrong place. It should be the on-call finder. You'll type the provider team. So if we're looking for neurology consult, type in neurology. If we're looking for gastroenterology, type in gastroenterology. And you want to find who is the first call. So Jessica Ng is one of the neurology residents. And you would chat with Jessica Ng and type out your consult question. Your senior resident should also teach you about good consult etiquette. It'll be part of the didactics during intern academic afternoon. Yeah, so definitely ask the senior residents or the chiefs, Scott and Siobhan, for advice on how to really do a good consult. All right, and finally, I mentioned talking to case manager, physical therapy, occupational therapy, PT, OT. All these ancillary staff members can be also found on Amion. You just go down on the Who's On drop-down menu. And this will be important in terms of figuring out how do we discharge someone to a skilled nursing facility. So that will be the case managers who will help you. It's broken down into is your patient in the cardiac care unit, CCU, the medical ICU, is your patient on 6 med or in the ED, and it will list who is the case manager assigned to those patients. Similarly, you can look for therapy and ancillary services or social services for social work, and then it'll list who the senior physical therapists are, how to contact them, who the nutritionists are, etc. Again, your senior residents will know how to navigate this, so don't hesitate to ask. All right. Some of the things that I mentioned also is at the end of your day, you're signing out to the night flow intern. And this is a little bit of a snapshot of what that looks like. So this is a typical view of what your patient list will look like. Although you will not be, looking at the ICU list, you'll have your own patient list, and there will be a option to write handoff. This is a little bit different than what you'll do at Stanford. So at Valley, you will select right handoff, and this will populate 3 boxes where you can enter information. So the brief ID here is just a one-liner, a problem representation about who is this patient. When you were presenting as a medical student, you would talk about, this is a 41-year-old male with heart failure, history of heart failure, coming in with shortness of breath. We're thinking it's due to heart failure exacerbation. So that's your brief ID for the night flow intern. The next area is the if and thens. Essentially, what does the night flow intern need to know if something happens? For example, someone with heart failure can continue to have shortness of breath. So if shortness of breath, what should we do? Someone with chest pain because they're coming in for ACS or for an NSTEMI, what's the protocol to do? These are things that we'll expect that you guys learn and grow and build that foundation through intern year. So definitely ask your seniors for advice on how to fine-tune and tailor this information. Finally, the to-dos. So overnight, sometimes there's some things that need to happen, whether it's continuing diuresis for that patient with heart failure exacerbation, or making sure that someone is MPO at midnight to get their EGD in the morning because of a GI bleed. So these are the highlights of what the night flow intern should do during their night shift.
Thank you for bearing with us through this asynchronous orientation. If you have any questions or if you've forgotten anything, most of the nuts and bolts can be found on the link tree. If there's a password protection, for example, to protect your schedules or to protect information on your phone numbers, the code will be 5000, the last four digits of the hospital phone number. For onboarding, which we cannot control, unfortunately, information is here for anything that you can't figure out on your own or questions once you get started, whatever it may be. Secure chat is the way to go for urgent issues, and then routine questions should go to the email. Last but not least, that interpreter line, I would save it and it will make your life and your patients' lives much happier. I hope you have a good month.